Hello everyone and welcome to Zoom O'Clock with your host Tessy Antony de Nassau. Today I have a wonderful guest, a dear friend, an inspiration to many, a world traveler, an entrepreneur, a mother, Princess Märtha Louise of Norway. Hi Märtha Louise.
Hi, how are you? It's so nice to be here.
So nice to have you. Thank you so much. I was really looking forward to our conversation. So thank you for your time.
So nice to be here. Looking forward to it too.
So happy New Year, first and foremost. We are the first week of January, the second week now. And how was your start into the new year?
Started with the new year really well, actually. We've had a really wonderful holidays and we're in LA and came back to Norway and have just started school, getting all the wheels going again. And yeah, it's been really nice. Wintry here in Norway, and it's lovely in the winter as well.
That is fantastic. I have seen your kids are quite busy as well and have grown up so much. One of your daughters has released her book, Threads of Tears. Mm-hmm. And congratulations for that. How old is she again?
She's 18 and she just released this book, which is called Threads of Tears, which is about a woman knitting her tears. And that's the only thing she could do because she was so sad. And then she knitted all her tears, and all the knitting covered all the wonderful things in her life until it became like a fortress that she was stuck in. Excuse me, until somebody came and reached his or her hand out and pulled her out of her misery, and she started seeing all the wonderful things in her life again, which I think is what sorrow does to us. Their father died from suicide 2 years ago now, and so it's been a big process for them to go through, and I think this has been a very positive thing for her to share with people so that she also could work through her pain and all the things that she has been through with her sorrow. So it's been such a wonderful journey to see her, all the kids and myself included, being in the real valley of sorrow, and with all that entails for a long time, and how exhausting physically that is. I didn't know that until I was in it. And then how she has managed to turn that into something creative and wonderful, because she's an amazing artist and draws and has done and written the poem and illustrated the book herself, and how that has become a #1 bestseller and here. And I'm just really proud how she's managed to turn that into something amazing to share with other people,
Wow.
So that's been a wonderful process to watch as a mom.
That is beautiful. Exactly. As a mom, seeing that your kids are thriving, and that they really, that they also emotionally are able to express themselves, and, being successful. I think it's a beautiful thing to witness, and it also gives testimony to you as a mom, and to how you have raised her as well to be a confident young woman, to even do this process and then publish a book about it, which other people can also use as a resource and as an inspiration.
Sorry, I think it's so important that, whatever we go through as human beings, and we all go through so many different things, and sorrow is one thing that we all have to meet at a certain point of life. Unfortunately, my kids met it at a very young age, and but we all go through it at some point. And I think it's really important, the lessons we've all learned from that you can't go around it, you have to go through it. And it is like having tunnel vision, because it does cover everything, and you can get stuck in that sorrow, and you can go into a pit of depression, which I did, and you can get out of it as well. And I think it's really important to talk about these things, to talk about mental health, and how important it is that we actually learn to deal with those parts of ourselves too. I feel that like the school system, everything, our educational system when we grow up is not good enough at addressing, good ways of talking to ourselves, of talking to others who have success or who have failed, like how do we support people in one way or the other way, that whether they have success or whether they have failed or whether they don't know what to do or whether they're desperate or whether they're depressed. How do we notice the signs of depression or anxiety or a mental illness? Like we don't learn these things that are so crucial for all us human beings, and we don't learn how to have mental support systems within ourselves and what kind of mental support systems we need for different areas and places of our lives. And that's something, I through what has happened the 2 last years, when he committed suicide and to now and even before then, Maud, my oldest daughter who wrote this book, has been fighting for learning more about mental illnesses in schools, and also, of equality of any sort, and how can we see these signs, and what are these different aspects of all of us, how can we include more people, whether you choose to be like this or whether you choose to be like that, and what does that entail and how does that work? And she managed to get in her school a day where they had a mental illness day or a mental health day, I would say. And she was just like, why don't we have more of this in school? And I so agree with her that I think we have such a wasted potential in actually doing so much better, because you see in society today, we see depression increasing, anxiety increasing, all the young people are stressed, they're out of sorts, they don't have tools to find themselves or follow their inner guidance. They end up in complete, different places than where they are happy and thriving. And I think that a really big change that I would love to see in the world is for that all to change, that the school is about finding your true calling and who you are, and how do I support that in myself? How do I support that in others? Whatever that is. How do I follow my inner guidance? How do I help others to do the same? How do I support others to be on that path of following their inner guidance, and wherever that takes them? How can we be more open-minded about what is important in life, and how can we be more, or how can we embrace more calibers of people? Like, how can we have different tree sorts in the woods, and not just look at one sort of tree and say, this is the good tree, and then we discard all the other amazing trees. Like, some families love only economics and their kids can only become economists, right? And that's the only thing, or something academia. While others are just in the science or just in the culture or artistry, and we need to open up for everything, whether you want to do sports, whether you want to do arts, whether you want to do economy, whether you're really good in math or music or whatever. And I think that we need to let the kids ask questions and be who they truly are, and unfold into the beings that they're supposed to be, instead of us directing them into a form that we are comfortable with them being in. And that's such a, it's a huge change. And I think my kids really have woken my senses up to that aspect, that I see that the school system is so much about only the head, and so many children don't fit into that form. And then they feel like they're misfits and don't fit in, and they're not good enough, when they're actually are more than good enough. They just have different qualities that they don't acknowledge in schools, but maybe qualities that we need even more in our society today than we did before. You know, because today is all about change. The whole world is changing into something new, and with the technology is changing so fast that we all need to adjust to these new discoveries and new ways of thinking so quickly that the old way of doing school and education, all that is totally irrelevant. We don't need programmed children who don't ask questions. We need the young spirit who knows everything about you know, apps and Wi-Fi and how that whole world works with tech, because we as adults, we haven't grown up with that, so we have a different view. So we need the young ones to actually understand what we have created as grown-ups, you know. So so it's so important that they are who they are to open up for us to develop, I think. So I think it's really important that we start listening more to the young people, because they're also more feisty. They stand up for, you know, they really see that we need to change this world, and we need, you know, global warming, you know, all of this really threatens them. Well, we're like, yes, but global warming has been going on for so long. I mean, I'm scared about it and I speak up about it, but it's not like it's my core, you know, like, but with the young people, they really, really feel that this is, you know, is their future at stake. And so I think it's really important that we, who are of our generation or older, really listen to children also in business. How can we change? How can I look at my business in a new way? How can I focus? How would you suggest that I move forward with my business right now? Is there anything I'm not thinking about? Because they have a different view than we do. And I think that is so important. Like, is there anything I've overlooked that you would think is natural to include? And ask young people about that is so interesting. It changes your concept.
Yeah, no, it's true. When I have a conversation with my children about my work or my advocacy work, the answers they give me really, really interesting, because it just, as you say, you know, it's, you know, you have your own opinions and they have theirs. And I think it's more about, you know, we learn from each other, but it's also, it complements we complement each other really well, I think, just to create that holistic view on the reality we're experiencing all in our own rights and our families, in our family dynamics as well, which goes really well with the topic on you know, how we met as well. I think I have seen you so many times before in different circles, and when I remember the day really well when we actually really had time to properly talk to one another, when we were sitting next to each other in Abu Dhabi at the same table. And I was in the middle of my divorce, and you saw me, we spoke, and you actually said to me, I can see you're very sad, I can see you're exhausted, and you know, and then you talked about, which is something I would have never thought, to be honest. You talked about angels. You talked about that you can see them. You told me about my guardian angel and what he has to tell me, or what the guardian angel has to tell me, and about that you wrote a book about it. And I think within that conversation, you know, that you openly talked about it like that was just so refreshing for me and so healing as well, where I thought, wow, anything can happen in the world as long as I feel that I'm not alone, which I felt then, because I did feel very alone during my divorce. And when you told me that, I just thought, wow, this is so beautiful. You know, also, as you said, you know, highly sensitive people, the term, you know, how people perceive their realities, how they feel energies, and you and your partner, Direk, are definitely well known for that you do a lot of spiritual work. and that you talk openly about it, and also about what you see. Before we started this podcast, for example, I asked you if you can still see my guardian angel, and if you can see him over camera. That is how uninformed I am about these things, right? Because of course you answered it's energy, it doesn't matter if it's on the screen or not, it's all around me, it's me, it's what makes me around me. And you told me about what my angels said, which I think is very accurate and very true. So tell me about that. When did that start for you? Because you don't, seeing angels is something really special. And also now you still practice it quite a lot also with your partner. How is that for you? How was your experience within that space? And how do people react to that? Also because you come from a very traditional country, from a very traditional family as well, historical family. And, do you have quite a lot of responsibility? You're a public figure. How is that for you to live your true self while also knowing that the whole world is watching you?
So that's been a very long journey. So as you said, I'm highly sensitive as a person. It's a scientific term. It means that you take in much more than the less sensitive people do, I would say. And it's not like you're very sensitive and then you're not. It's a scale of people where you're from very highly sensitive to less sensitive. But everybody are sensitive at a certain point. Like very many people, for example, can go into a room and say, oh, there's something bad about this room, or oh, this is really nice atmosphere, even though you don't really know that it's a good atmosphere. It's just such a nice feeling to come into that house. And that's us sensing things. So highly sensitive people are very, very sensitive and take in everything of people around them, and often get exhausted from people being with people, because they take in their emotions and pains, and you don't know if it's their pain or your pain or whose pain, and it's very confusing. And it's a bit like having like apps up, and all the apps are downloading information all the time and you don't quite know how to turn it off. You take criticism very badly because it feels like you're getting hit by arrows and painful, like physical pain. So it's all very it's very, you're very sensitive to whatever's happening around you. And and it's the same actually. There's around 30% of the population that are highly sensitive. And that's the same with men and women. It's the same amount. And it's the same in the animal kingdom as well. So in the old traditional, when we were in tribes, the highly sensitive people would be the ones who would sense if there was danger, or they would sense where to put the camp down if you were moving around, or, so. And we don't have that kind of calling aspect of it anymore, but we're still like looking out for everybody, helping everybody, being there. And also you see through people. So you see behind their masks very easily. You become a helper because you see what people need before they actually know it themselves. And so we need to learn to calm down and take a break. And we need to put that into I need to put that into the calendar. People who are highly sensitive do, because we love doing things and being there for everyone, and we forget that we need to take time from ourselves and actually have time out, and have that time out, or charging period, I kind of call it, because I need like an hour where I don't do anything, not phone, not anything, just clear my mind and meditate, or do something that really boosts my energy again, And so through being so sensitive, I also have always seen energies, and therefore came in touch with my guardian angel. And that was actually when I was away. I have a writing career behind me, and I was on the national team for show jumping, and I was alone because I was in Holland and I didn't know anybody there. So I had lots of time to like meditate and connect and do different exercises. And I was doing this exercise called Meet Your Guardian Angel one day. And suddenly the room became full of a smell of roses. And it just felt this, and I felt this very loving presence, which was like an old friend that I forgot I had. It's like, oh, it's you. Oh my goodness. You know, I remember I was in contact with you, you know, like I had that. It was just such a warm, close, loving feeling, but I didn't see anything, which I thought was really weird because I'm very visual and I see very many things, but this was just smell and just feeling. And from that day, I started consciously contacting my guardian angel and writing, you know, sitting writing what he said or she said. They are both genders, so and everything started coming through, and then I started getting more and more in tune with this. And it was also after I had that connection that I started listening, you know, opening up to listening to my inner calling and you know, following my heart and walking my path. And that led me to all the entrepreneurship. It led me to, you know, being a princess in a different way, and not just the traditional way, but also breaking out of that and daring to start my own business, earn my own money, which I wasn't allowed to do before. And, you know, and all these things led to a lot of criticism, but also a lot of joy, because I could finally be myself. And I could stand in being a spiritual human being, which was really scary in Norway because it has been very shameful, you know, and it has been conflicted with going mad to have these abilities as well. So when I started, because I started a spiritual education together with a friend of mine called Elisabeth Noreng, and we started this business, and of course we got so much criticism from all genres of life, from the church because it was the devil's work, from psychologists because this was scary, it was dangerous, it could lead to you know, mental illnesses and whatnot, from older men because they got threatened by a woman who would do her own thing and break out of what was, you know, traditionally put for her to fill, and from women, you know, they said that I would have been burned on the stakes, you know, like it was a whole thing. But I think that because I didn't do this to prove a point, I did this because it was right for me, and I did this because I had learned these tools from an education I had taken, and I was just like, oh my God, this is just so amazing. It's completely changed my life. It has given me so much strength, so much power, that I have to share it with other people. I felt so egoistic to keep it to myself. And if I didn't do it, I felt too egoistic that this precious treasure was hidden away from everybody. So I wanted to share it with as many people that wanted to liberate them, you know, and to make them follow and be true to who they truly are and follow that path and what happened to their lives. And we had so many people coming through our courses that changed their lives completely. And that was really the bonus and the wonderful results of all these things that happened, and all the negativity. It made up for it. And I'm still really happy I did do that, and I still continue to do that.
Yes, you are actually, and I think it's a good transition. We're almost running out of time, but I will ask you this question. I know it's a long question, but I think it's a very appropriate question as well when it comes to be who you are and what is right for you. These were all words you were saying. And so you're dating Shaman Durek, which is a mutual friend of us. I really like him as well. He's a big inspiration. He is also working in the spiritual world, and you're doing a lot of things together now, which I think is so amazing, because you're just the head to his pot, like, it's, as they say, I don't know if that translates well, but in German we say, Deckel auf den Topf. But
Okay.
it's really, yeah, I didn't translate that well, but it's like you're meant to be, you're like the puzzles that fit together. Right, there you go. I tried to do a metaphor and it didn't work, sorry.
It's okay, don't worry.
What I want to say is that, so you're very strong, both of you, and you're very, very balanced, and your roots are so grounded in the ground. You know where you're going, you know what you want. And I think, would you say that that was also helpful for you guys? Because, as you said before, you were not allowed to earn your own money. You wanted to show a different kind of princess, the modern princess who works, who does all of these amazing things, who is herself, who knows herself. And there comes you then, in a very traditional Norwegian society, from a royal family. Your father is the king of Norway, and so on, dating a shaman, and also a black shaman, right? Shaman Durek is dark-skinned. I love him. He's just the most amazing person. But I have seen press about this, how people would just not give you this happiness. Where you were literally torn apart in the press, where people said, how can she, this is not right, where people were again trying to put stereotypes, again, a lot of elderly male as well, and I'm sure psychologists and also the church and all of these people all over again saying this is not right. How was that for you? And if I may, I assume this has made you guys so strong as a couple, stronger than ever imaginable before, right?
Yeah, so I met Shaman Durek, well, how long is it ago? 3.5 years ago now or something. And it was, when you meet somebody, it's just like you're coming home, you came home. I came home. I just knew him already. The first thing I said to him was, I know you already. That's the first thing I said when I walked through the door and I saw him, and he was like, yes, we were destined to meet way before we were born. And I was like internally rolling my eyes. So from that point, it felt like we were just really old friends catching up. And every time we were together, we just had too little time catching up. Like it felt like we never had enough time. And then it developed into a romantic relationship. And he's like the most amazing, wonderful man I could ever imagine to be with, because he's so emotionally evolved. And he really takes responsibility for his own emotions, and and we just develop together in the same direction and just continue to grow together. And I think that's so beautiful. And so because I knew that I had that with him, and we were friends for quite some time before we were a couple. Mm-hmm. And so and also he lives in America and I live in LA and I live in Norway. And so we developed this friendship, also long distance, which has really helped us now through COVID, when we weren't allowed to see each other for like half a year at a time. But that friendship became so strong, and we knew that we had such a solid foundation for our relationship. Oh, sorry.
No, don't worry.
For our relationship, that all of these aspects of criticism didn't really matter for our relationship. It's challenging when you are attacked like that, because it's a very heavy energy when there's so many people like directing that kind of energy towards you. And we both have been, totally in tears and not knowing what we do, but then we managed very quickly to turn that around to strength and to work through it, and I think it's really, I don't think I've picked a man to challenge others in that regard. It's just that he met all my needs and all the things that are important to me. He had,
right
and
he was right for
sorry,
you. He was
yeah, and the other way around, I think. Yeah, both. And so for us, we have a solid relationship. You know, we know who we are, and then other people need to have their reactions, and if they don't like it, then that's them, you know. And it has, of course, it has been hard. It's been very challenging, but at the same time, it's been very eye-opening as well. I've learned so much about people, about racism, about because I you know, and I have friends who are Black, not so many in Norway, but abroad I do have many friends who are Black. But it's not until I lived so closely with him that I saw how people changed around him who are totally nice with me. And that was such an eye-opener to see firsthand with somebody you love so deeply. And that really changed my concept of racism. Because as a white person, because we don't experience it daily in the same way they do, I'm not afraid of my life every time I walk out the door. I don't have to, I can relax in a store and knowing that nobody will suspect that I'm snooping to steal something, for example. I can be in an elevator without clutching my you know, being afraid that somebody will clutch their purse because they're afraid I will steal something from them. You know, I can walk down the street and nobody will cross the street to avoid me. You know, and these are things that daily, or that when you're on a bus, that people don't want you to sit next to you, or that they start harassing you.
That's horrible.
You know, and it's just such a different way to live. And it's really opened my eyes to how into the nitty-gritty of daily life racism goes. Because my view of racism was before that, excuse me, just one second. Sorry. That, you know, it's all the nasty people that are racist. It's not me. But then when you meet racism in the small details like that, you suddenly see, oh my God, but that's racist and that's racist. And, you know, and all these racist aspects that I've grown up with, because we have been brought up in societies that do structural racism, you know, that we have societies where we're built on the white race dominant and being dominant, you know, and if we give way, then we won't lead anymore. We won't have that position. That's very fearful for us, you know. And so it's a whole system that needs to break for everybody to be equal. And that is in regard to us who have white skin as well, to step off that, you know, colonized way of thinking that we own the world. We don't own the world. We live in a world, we share it with so many other people. Yeah. We don't own anything, you know, and that adjustment, just to like see that and acknowledge that as well, is just, it's so important for us. And also the fact that white people have been the ones saying what racism is and isn't. We have been deciding that too, which is totally crazy, because we need to listen to Black people what racism is. I have aspects of me, I'm sure still, that are racist aspects that I don't know that I have, and it's okay. You know, like we all have, because we've grown up in this system. And I think it's so important that we start looking at that and let the Black people tell us how we can grow, how we can evolve.
100%. So yeah, exactly. You know, it's not a bad thing that you don't know about the things that you don't know yet, but as soon as you notice it, then you need to act accordingly. I do agree with you as well on that. So, well, I assume, you know, your family, your kids love him and your parents and everyone. So as long as the family unit is with you. And even if not, let's say it as well like that to people listening in where the parents maybe don't approve of a mixed race relationship. Guys, it's okay, right? As long as you are happy, as you said before, right? Whatever is right for you, be who you are. I really liked it. And I think that's kind of like how I also want to finish this on the note that, you know, we're all individually gifted. We have all our own circle of trusts, our friendships, our families, our love, how we define love, how we express love, how we live it. And I think that is what makes the world so beautiful, because otherwise it would be extremely boring, wouldn't it? So
Yes.
we have run out like 4 times the time. I just love talking to you. Oh my God, and I miss you so much.
You can break it up.
I know, it's so amazing. You are just so incredible, honestly. And I'm so privileged to have you in my friendship circle.
Oh, it was so nice being here as well. And I think it's really important, you know, that we have a diverse world where we see all the people living here and not just the few.
It's true. It's true. Well, my angel, I will come and see you in Norway for sure soon, as we talked before. Hope to see Durek as well soon. If not, give him a big kiss for me, and hope to have him on my podcast soon as well. I asked him, so let's see if he finds time.
I'm sure he wants to do that.
Last question.
So nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. One last question. One book, quote, or podcast you would recommend for the people to listen, that they can directly see something you have read, listened, or seen, to kind of like improve some aspects of your life? What has worked for you?
So since you mentioned the book that I wrote for contacting your guardian angel and your true self, that's called The Spiritual Password, and I wrote that a few years ago. That's in English. Then I would like to recommend Durek's podcast, The Ancient Wisdom Today. And then Maud's book that I talked about in the beginning is this one, but it's still only in Norwegian. And she's done all the illustrations herself. Don't know if you can see.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I'm very proud of her and what she's managed to do.
Oh,
so it's very nice. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So that's.
Maybe we find someone to help Maud to put it into English as well. Maybe my girlfriend Charlotte's daughter. They could become friends and they can do it. She's also in Norway. Her name is Carl. So who knows? But thank you for your time. I really let you go now. I know I took way too much of your time. I love you very much, Märtha Louise. You're an incredible human being, and I appreciate you very much. Big kiss to the family.
Love you too.
To Durek and to your daughters.
Thank you.
And see you soon.
Yes.
Bye.